build an AI bot that can go and assess the NPPF, the local plan, the master plan, every single planning document that's been submitted over the last 10 years, and every committee member feedback. You could get it to do everything, to then give you a really in-depth summary of what's most likely to get approved and what's ambitious and what's not, give you a rating over it. This is now something you could do as a developer to try and like stand a better case, and then build your planning statement and as if you're going in for appeal. So like a lot of this work, planning consultants are about to be up against it when this kind of tech is here to give us a much better standing. Just thought I'd throw that in the mix, yeah, because that's definitely something we're going to do.
It's a great idea, but AI bot won't, turn their out of office on and tell them they're on holiday and need more extensions of time. The one quickly we've got is just the vets. It's taken us 2 years to go with the council. We've been going to and from with highways, trying to work with the council. I mean, we try and put a not non-contentious site in, and they just come back and said, "Oh yeah, we highways just come back and said, oh, we think because they've got two entrances. One's on a corner, which is quite dangerous, which we've decided to move for a better scheme, and one's on a slight camber of a bend, so you can't quite get the display 100%. Anyway, we've done a traffic survey that's all been passed, and now they've just come back and said, "Oh, we think you need to put a Copenhagen crossing on the junction to slow people down." It's like, well, if the junction needs it, it needs it now. Why should that be at our cost? That's a 30 grand cost being added to our development.
We got
So
that
I
now
think
as
we just
well,
had that.
yeah.
It's just like, well, if the corner needs it, pull it in. Why are you putting it on my development site? That's where we've just gone back. So again, it's a game of chess.
We got one now where we got an application in, and they're like, yeah, the road is really unsafe, so we need you to put in like a pelican crossing. Like, as you said, well, if it's unsafe, why don't you do that now? It's
Yeah,
you
exactly.
just said it's unsafe. So, but
I don't want to say too much, but I think they've gone, oh, okay, actually, it doesn't probably need it. It's like, okay, well, if it's your cost, it doesn't need it, but at my cost, yeah, we need to fill it in. It's like,
yeah,
fucking hell,
yeah,
endless pot
yeah.
of money. It's no wonder it's so hard, and that's trying to do uncontentious sites. I've never been to appeal, so we just try and work with the council. But yeah, and that's a great idea, though, Rye, with working in your local council. Just to pick every single application that's been in, every single appeal, every rejection, and spit out a scheme. Which AI do you use to come up with a full planning design? Then
Yeah, mate. I think you can use it to massively elevate your chances of a better planning statement, of viability assessment, of all sorts of things you can just look at ahead of time without the cost of a planning consultant, and then have a planning consultant carry it through. But at least you've had a clear view on the policies, as opposed to sort of the black box of allowing a planning consultant to do work and hoping that they've done it credibly. You could now have something that vets them and even does most of the work for them. It's going to be it's a different world when string.
To be fair though, it's combination. One, it's the how they run the process itself, which arguably, if you have got a policy compliant site, it's I've noticed is getting slightly better, but where we are anyway. But the other side of the coin is just the process that's at the moment is basically how it's set out that needs to be changed. It can't be changed by an AI, but it's got to be changed by legislation. It's like to do an application from start to finish. You have to do a pre-app, sometimes two pre-apps, because if you don't do a pre-app and you go into planning, they'll just reject it if there's one thing wrong with it. You have to do a pre-application consultation, then you have to do the planning. But after planning, after committee, you then have the 106 process. The section 106 can take ages for a document that gets used all the time on every application. It can take months and months and months. Then only after that can you get the decision notice. Then only after the decision notice can you deal with pre-commencement conditions, which are also another 2 to 3 to 4 month process, and you've got a judicial review period to go on the side, which is it's just these layers that people just talk about the plan and application process, which is could be 6 months, 9 months, but when you have the stuff you need to do before you get into planning and then after planning before you can actually start, it ends up taking years.
Yeah, structurally, there's obviously a lot of changes that are needed. But I mean, me, if the MPPF, if the planning system does not adopt AI this year, then we have a massive, massive problem. Because like, surely now they can make this process a hell of a lot more efficient and easy and quick for people. Like, surely, the tech is blatant. It's blatantly there for them. So hopefully we see some changes. I mean, I sat on that committee on a panel talk last year with a lady who works with the councils on implementing AI. So it's not like they're not doing it, but can they do it at the pace of change we need to actually make planning
No,
just
you need a driver.
an issue?
You need a driver. I've sat on some meetings with some real senior officials in planning, and they think it's the developer's fault. Brutally, they just say that the quality of applications aren't good enough, and that they're submitting things that aren't policy compliant. They're defending the system because they're on top of that system. It's very difficult. It takes a certain type of person to be, senior in a system and say, do you know what, guys, this just isn't working. We're crap. Let's resolve it. Most of the time, they find defense mechanisms to be like, it's not working because they're not doing it properly. They're not following it properly. If they followed it properly, it would work.
Interestingly, the way you would go about this if it was a business, let's assume planning is a process or a production line or a system or something in a company, and you've just bought this massive company and you need to fix it. You would go to the developers, interview 100 of them and say, what's wrong with this? You would go to the planning officers, interview 100 of them and say, what's wrong with this? And the planning officers would just say, we have too much to do. So you're like, right, let's put more resource in there. You say to developers, what's wrong with this? Oh, you've got to go through all the costs and expenditure to get it. It's really slow, right? The resource covers that off. What else could we do? Maybe phase it so that you could get initial advice like a pre-app. Well, we've already got that. And it's like, well, it doesn't get turned around. In Reading, it takes 12 months. Then you go, well, we've resolved that with the resource. So I think the first protocol is to up the fees, increase the resource, and to phase it extremely better. So you're getting...
Last year, again in Wales, I was part of the Senedd and also the Affordable Housing Task Force about this. And I said at the time as well, look, developers would welcome a fee increase. And they brought it in, 50% fee increase for planning fees. But it was on developers would welcome it on the proviso it was ring fenced. I've been told recently that it hasn't been ring fenced. So they've increased the fees, and that pot of money
it's not being spent in the right place.
No.
They've increased the fees. They used to be 400 quid per plan application. That's £400 per dwelling. And it's like they have increased the fees, and it's still shit.
They could quadruple their cost, and I'd be happy as long as you're not spending money on all the assessments around.
Well,
the planning
they've 10x their fees, and it's still shit. You can throw endless money into this.
If you're really looking at the planning system as for a business lens, it's not a pricing issue. It's simply a process issue. They're doing way too much. Like, they need to reduce what they do, and therefore reduce the cost and reduce the time. Like, that's the work that needs to be done.
I mean, have you seen the best government run outfit, HMRC? If the planning process was run like HMRC, where you're going, fucking hell, that was quick. Oh, jeez, where'd you come from? We would absolutely love it, wouldn't we? Just bang in, straight, immediate response. You're in the wrong. Okay, tough love. I love that.
I don't know if HMRC are that good though. I mean, how much fraud have they missed? And like, they've put in all of this work. They've put in like so much cost, so much resource, and AML and all this stuff, and they're capturing something like 0.03% of the fraud. Like, they are, I think HMRC are like littered with inefficiency, corruption, fraud, and all sorts.
I guess to the consumer, they seem pretty efficient.